my name is Tim Crespi, and this is
John Murray.
Mr. Murray runs Fitness Solutions, which is a personal training studio in the Fort Worth area, and we decided we would like to start an educational video series and enlighten everybody on what we were doing in Mr. Murray's fitness studio. So without further ado, Mr. Murray, if you had a client to come into your studio for the first time, what do you think you would like them to know once they left their first session? What are the key points you'd like them to get down?
I think the key point, the thing that's most important that I would like people to leave with is the idea that they are built for success. That that within the goals that we'll set, and we're going to set goals that are attainable and achievable. So we're not going to be thinking about we're going to, have a person beat Michael Phelps in swimming or win 10 gold medals. We're going to have, specific, attainable, achievable goals. And within those goals, I want everybody to know that they are built for success, that they can achieve those goals. That's the first thing that I want them to know. And I want them to leave also with the beliefs that it's possible to achieve those goals and that they have within them everything that they need to achieve the goals, because that's how we're built. And we'll get more into that later.
This is one of the boards that all of our clients see, and when they get here, this is basically the first thing you show them.
Right.
Can you explain to the audience what this is and why do you have them do that?
Right. Okay, because I just want to build in that idea that we're built for success, all right? And I want to build in that idea that everybody has everything that they need to succeed. And the only thing that we need to do is to make sure that we have the proper self-concept and the proper beliefs necessary to achieve the goals. And if we're trying to achieve specific, realistic, and attainable goals, then the deal is that all we need to do is to have everything working toward those goals. Now, what do I mean by all this? This is in you. There's a lot of talk about stuff like that. There's a guy who wrote a book back in the 60s called Maxwell Maltz, and he talked about, not to be confused with, what's that other show? Get Smart.
Get Smart?
Never mind. Anyway, Maxwell Maltz wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, and in that book, he said that we had these creative mechanisms inside of us and success mechanisms and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think he really went into a lot of detail about what those things are. And in my studies, looking at some motor control, stuff like that, I've found some things that kind of tie in exactly to what he was talking about back in the day. He does mention some things about the brain and that kind of stuff, but I try to get it more in detail. So here's the deal. I want to start with this idea. We're built for success. How do I know that, right? How do I know that you're built for success? Because if you're coming in the gym, you probably have a cerebrum that's functioning. Not probably, just a joke there. But you have a cerebrum, you have a cerebellum, premotor cortex, basal ganglia, thalamus, spinal cord, and muscles, all right? So if you have those things working, then the deal is that all you have to do is set a goal, all right? So you set the target, and then this part of your brain will plan and revise a strategy for you to meet that goal. I mean, that's all we're talking about, all right? When that plan is made, then it's sent down to your spinal cord. Your spinal cord sends it out to the muscles. The muscles then create the movement that will help you get the result that you want. And that's what we're talking about. And that's why I say you create the set, because it's going to start with what you put inside your mind. Now, initially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some goals and stuff like that so you can kind of get a sense of what that's all about. And then after a while, you'll be able to do it yourself. All right? And then boom, you'll be able to create the tension in your muscles necessary to get the result that you want. All right? And then you'll be able to watch that from this position to see if your body's doing what you wanted to do. And then you can send down, no, it's not, want a little bit more, a little bit less. This stuff will create it. These muscles will do it. And then boom, you'll be on your way to success. Now, what can block you from doing that? Because there's a guy named Robert Dilts, he talks about these logical levels. I don't know if he invented that idea, but it's something that he used in something they call neuro-linguistics programming. And what he says is that we have these different logical levels. We have identity, beliefs, capabilities, behavior, and then our environment. All right? And the thing is that a lot of times when you go to a trainer, it's all about behavior. It's like, you got to do the right thing. You got to, lift the weights. Your form is off. You're not doing this right, or you're not eating right, or there's something that you're not doing. All right? And so the focus is always on that. What we want to do at Fitness Solutions is move it up a little bit. We want to look at who, and we want to look at your beliefs. Okay? Because if you have the right beliefs and the right who, then that's going to help you set the right target. That's then going to help you to get the right plan a plan made for yourself so that you can get the behavior. So the behaviors will come out of your target more so than out of me correcting you at this level. All right, does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
One of the other diagrams that we have over here on this side of the board is the comparator, muscle tension, load, neural input and output.
Right.
It's not well illustrated here. There's another board.
There's
that has
another,
a bigger
we
one.
can do, So the deal is that, like you said, we have a comparator, muscle tension, load, nerve endings. What does all this mean? How does this all work in real life in the gym? Well, when we were talking about all that, cerebellum, basal ganglia, thalamus, all that stuff that's in our brain. Well, let's say that they make up the comparator, okay? And maybe there's even several layers of comparator, several layers of these units in each one of those different parts of the brain, all right? And so the deal is that whatever you do, okay, so let's say we're doing a bicep curl, right? And we have a goal of taking that muscle to fatigue, and we're going to take it to fatigue and have a little burning sensation in the shortened position right here, okay? So we want to finish in 60 seconds with fatigue in the shortened position, just like that, all right? So what we do is that we start the rep, and in that very first rep, as we're moving that load, we're going to get some input we're going to perceive what's going on. There'll be some input going into these nerve endings. These nerve endings will send that to the comparators. Those comparators will tell how close we are to the goal. And so we'll continue to make adjustments with each rep to get us closer and closer to that goal of getting fatigue in the up position and at 60 seconds. And so that's how that works. Is there any more that, because I might have left something out, is there something that you see that I could probably add, a question you want to maybe ask me about that?
Can you explain how error fits into this? Because one of the things we didn't go in there is error, and one of the things that we try to correct people on is their improper biomechanics and things like that.
Right. Well, with the error aspect of things, the error is like the first thing, the very first rep is going to be an error because the deal is the goal is to finish in this position at 60 seconds with fatigue. So at each rep, it should be moving you closer to that goal, okay? So each rep is going to be an error in and of itself until we actually get to that one that we want where it's like, oh, yeah, I got fatigue in that muscle at 60 seconds. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're going for the goal, which is time under tension and to stress the muscle.
Right.
And just performing one rep isn't that goal.
Right, exactly. And so we just got to keep going around the loop until we get there. Now you brought up some mechanics issues, and we talked about that earlier. When we're trying to do the muscle, where's the sweet spot for working that muscle? Is it if we go too fast, will that create the stimulation that we want? Maybe we're not in the right alignment, when we're doing it. So we'll be getting error messages about that also, all right? And if we have built in that sense of what it's like to work that muscle and how it should feel, then that input will go into the comparator. The comparator will make the adjustments so that you find the right place to do that movement in. Because sometimes, for example, a person might be doing a chest press and their arms go down a little bit too low, and that's not going to activate the chest as much as if they're right in this horizontal plane right here. So what we do is we want to try to make sure that they're there, and we want to build in a sense of what that feels like to be there. Mm-hmm. All right?
And again, just to stress the idea that having your arms abducted at 90 degrees and chest pressing, we said that as the goal for this in terms of stimulating the chest. But if you did adduct your arms and brought them down a little bit, that's the common for strength and bench pressing because you incorporate different muscles. And while you may not be stimulating the chest, you're stimulating other muscles to get more power output for your goal, which is to lift more. Is that correct? Right.
Well, and so here's a kind of sneaky thing about that. Here, so stand here and face that way. Put your arms up, right? So, and then come on out here, okay? And this is a little technical, so if this doesn't work for you, you don't have to. But if for someone who would find this interesting, pay close attention. This is a pretty good question that he asked. So the deal is that when you're doing a movement in this plane right here's your axis, and then if we draw a line to this point right here, this is where the load is going through. So the load is moving. The lever for this load right here is from your shoulder to your elbow, okay? And so that's going to have a different impact than. And we already talked about that already. Like if we did this right here, now that's a different impact because the load is being applied from this axis out to his hand, to your hand. All right. So that's a longer lever. This is a shorter lever, and then watch this right here. You can relax that other hand. What if we just drop it in here like that?
Even shorter lever.
Even shorter lever makes a heavier weight easier to do. Also adds a little bit more of your deltoid to it, and so with that, then now you're going to be able to lift a little bit more weight. So that's how that works. You see how that works?
Makes sense, and that gets basically into specialization differences. So if you're a strength training athlete versus a bodybuilder versus...
So like if you want to power lift and you're looking at trying to lift the most amount of weight that you can lift, then that third option would be the one. If you're looking for just developing hypertrophy in the muscle, then this right here is good enough. And then if you're saying, hey, I want more than that, I'm just maximally stimulated in all kind of ways, and I got a lot of muscle to help protect my joints, then you may want to move your hands outside of your elbow. And those are the kind of decisions that we make. Here again, we're not looking at what's right or wrong, good or bad. We're just looking at, all the variables and then seeing which variable works best for the client.
Okay. And that gets back into basically goal setting. So basically the goal determines everything.
Right. The goal determines what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, for how long you're going to do it, all that stuff.
When we see a client and you choose to only make them go through a certain portion of the range of motion, for example, if they're performing a bicep curl and you only want them to do the first 90 degrees of extension and the 90 degrees of flexion, what is your reasoning and thought process behind that in terms of, are you looking for muscular endurance performance, strength performance? What are your goals when you try to make a client go through that schematic or idea?
So what I'm hearing you say is that when you see me start them, let's say at 90 degrees flexion at the elbow,
yes, sir,
and move to the 0 degrees flexion at the elbow. What you're seeing there is me trying to stimulate the shortened end of the contractile length. Okay, and so by creating fatigue there, then when we go back down to the lengthened end and try to go through the whole range of motion, it kind of slows the velocity a little bit. They can give a lot of output to move the weight, but because of the fatigue that's already developed there, it just slows it down, but still gives them the neural output to the muscle.
Okay. In terms of how one can implement that into their own workout, if they wanted to try something like that, where would you say they could find it useful?
I think it could be useful at any point in your workout, especially if you're looking for strength gains and stuff like that. If you want to build up the amount of tension that you're developing in the muscle, increase the neural output to the muscle to develop more strength, I think that would be a great place to put that.
Would you say it's similar to doing pre-fatiguing sets and then working your way up to a heavier weight, or someone along that?
Yeah. What is that? That the old school used to talk about pre-exhaustion. You ever heard of that?
Yes, sir.
Where you do maybe you do some concentration curls and then you come back and do a bicep curls, or you do some flies, and then you come back and do a chest press. Kind of that same kind of idea a little bit.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. So, let's to kind of take what we were talking about with the brain, and it's creating the goal, and and that diagram that I have. We're going to try to put that into something that you can see. So we got Tim here, and he's holding some 10-pound dumbbells, and I'm going to ask Tim to put those down for just a second. And I'm just going to start with something. I want you to stand right here, Tim, and all I want you to do is to turn and face this way. There you go. Put this hand down, put this one, raise that one up. Okay. Now, if you just straighten your arm out like this, Tim, just relax it. Tell me what you sense about this part of your arm.
Has a little bit of weight pulling down on it, but I mean,
Very.
you can feel it, but it's very, very
Okay.
light.
So you're aware that it's there, but it's not requiring any type of muscular force or anything to hold it. And if it is, it's at a very minimal level,
Yes.
right? It doesn't capture your attention. You kind of have to go search for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the magnitude of that would be very small, right? Because it's like if you really want to feel your bicep and the impact of your forearm on your bicep, you'd really have to concentrate to feel that.
Yes,
right?
sir.
I bet there are other things that are coming into you as far as stimuli that capture your attention more right at this moment. Like,
Yes, sir.
Maybe my voice, or my glasses, or something like that, right?
Yep. Feet.
Feed, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Good.
I don't know.
All right. So now, what if we take this and we turn this like this, right?
Mhm.
All right. And so now, tell me about the impact of your forearm on your bicep.
It's a little bit greater.
Right, so it's still not, you still got to kind of pay attention to it, right? But it's more, you have more of awareness than you did when it was straight.
It's not comfortable to keep it in this position.
It's not comfortable, okay, all right. So you can see how that works, right? Okay, so what we're looking at there is the magnitude, the amount of perceptual input that's going into his brain about his forearm, okay? Now, Tim, what I'd like you to do is to tighten this muscle as you hold that. All right, so now that's when he tightened that muscle, you can see his bicep and the vein there. That muscle there is like, now he's putting some output into that. He's sending some neurotransmitter to that muscle to say tighten. All right, so now we have this combination of the weight of his forearm and the tension that he's sending to his bicep with his brain. Both of those are creating a situation in there that could create fatigue if he held it there for long enough. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, you want to relax your arm there? There you go. The vein is getting bigger there.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yep. Already getting a workout.
You're getting a workout. All right, so now here's what I want you to do. Put your arm there again. Tell me what the impact is when you're here.
It's less than what it was down here.
So it's less than it was there, right? Okay, so it's less when he's here than when he's here, okay? So now how can we make this part of the movement the same as this?
You'd have to contract.
Right, well, you're gonna have to send some neural output to that muscle from your brain, right, to tighten as you come up, and keep that output going as you go through that part. So let's have you try that. Ready? And this goes back to that question that you asked earlier. So tighten and build that tension. There you go. See how that works? And boom, hold, and then back down, hold the tension. And when we're talking holding the tension, we're talking about holding those heads, keeping those heads engaged. We'll talk about that later. Try it again. Squeeze, and boom. There you go. Right there, come on down. Hold that, one more, squeeze, and time. Good job, how's that?
Good.
You feel that in your bicep?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now, let's try something else, okay? So, what we know is that if you're here, you had very little input going on there, right?
Yes, sir.
And then tell me what it's like coming up to this point right here. Gets a little stronger there?
Stronger,
okay,
yeah.
So now let's try to do that same thing. Let's add the input of your brain to your muscle there, tighten, and then build tension. Oh, there you go. There you go. And look, I mean, his arm is shaking. all that. So he's using his brain to turn the muscle on, along with just the weight of his forearm, and look at what he's getting. See how that works?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. All right, good. All right. Now, let's add some weight to that. All right. So now he's going to have a weight. He's going to have his mind. He's going to have this muscle. All of that stuff is going to be going on. So turn it. There you go. Tighten the muscle. And then build the tension. Here we go. Go. There you go. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. How's that? Right there. Hold. Boom. And then down. There you go. 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 Hold. Pause. And then tighten. There you go. Oh, yeah. Now, Tim, here's what we want to do. We want this. You're going to do this set, and I'm going to put some time on it here, the next 30 seconds. And you want that set to finish in the down position like this, okay? Here we go. So you got about 5. Oh, yeah, keep it working. And you should be losing some range of motion with each rep. Okay, so there'll be a tendency to want to go to a place where it's easier, but you just keep going to that place where it gets harder and harder. Come on up a little bit. Oh, yeah, hold that right there, and then back down. There you go. Pause, and then go, squeeze. Oh, there you go. How's that? Don't force it right there. Boom. There you go. One more, and time. Good job. See how that worked?
Yes, sir.
So what we did there is we had him do the set. We gave him a goal of finishing in the down position and to lose some range of motion with each rep. He was able to do all that. All of that was done with his mind, and then he did it, and what happened was the goal was achieved. Now, the way most resistance training is done is, let's turn around to the other side. Put the weights in your hand over there. Okay. And Tim, just do 10 reps. There you go. And that's the way most of the time weight training would be done. It would be the weight, and my telling them 10 reps would be the thing that's going to create some goal, and we wouldn't really consider him at all. Okay. And in on this arm over here, we considered him. We had him be involved in what this muscle was going to do at different points in the range, and in doing all that, then that muscle was stimulated. Did you feel a little bit more over here than over there?
Of course, yeah. It was a lot harder to do the first one than the second.
You see how that works?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we're going to work the shorten end. Let's turn around. We're going to work the shorten end of your bicep. Okay, so the contractile length, and when we're talking about shorten end and all that, we're talking about the contractile length. So how far does that muscle have to go before it's in a shortened position? And when we would look at that, you know, in most common parlance, what we would say, you know, this is a short muscle. He made a muscle right here. And so this muscle's in the shortened position at this point. Well, there's a length that muscle has to travel through to get to that point. And so that's what we're going to work different parts of that length. So we're going to start out just working right in here in the shortened position. So here we go, Tim. Come on up. So no, don't worry about all the other stuff. We're just going to have you come up to here. Hold that right there. Now what I want you to do, Tim, is just let it down to about right there and then back up. There you go. Boom. And then down, hold, squeeze. There you go. And you're going to lose a little bit there right at the top. So go ahead and use a little bit of your mind to tighten. Boom. There you go. So you want to keep those heads engaged. And boom. And you want it to feel like it's feeling when it was at the 90-degree range. Squeeze. Boom. There you go. Right there. Squeeze. There you go. Boom. Hold it right there. Squeeze. Good. There you go. Come on. 2 more. Yes. There you go. 1 more. And boom. There you go. Now come on down. There you go. There you go. There you go. Hold. And then go. Squeeze. There you go. And notice how yeah. Feel that? Right there. Now don't speed it up. Don't try to throw it. Just see what happens. Notice what the fatigue does in the muscle with that. See, yeah. See, as you get to that shortened position, it loses the ability to work because of the fatigue that's already developed in it. You see how that works? Boom. There you go, one more. Right there, squeeze, and that's good. Time. See how that works?